Hello everyone, welcome back to Coffee with Kristen. We have a great lineup of shows covering a variety of interesting topics and I can't wait to share them with you. Today on Your Money, Your Wealth, Joe and Al will be talking about the must-dos before you retire. Here's a sneak peek at today's episode.
On Your Money, Your Wealth.
There's a lot of things that you got to consider in your perfect retirement, right? Where do you want to live? How much money that you're going to spend? How long you're going to live, right? But there are things that you need to consider, but there's things that you absolutely must do. That's today's show, the must-dos before you retire.
I think we all want to enjoy that next phase of life and not feel like we have to lower our standard of living just because we didn't plan for retirement properly. This episode lays it all out for you. The must-dos before you retire. I, personally, learned things from this episode that I can start applying to my life and future planning now. For anyone who plans to retire someday, which is everyone, you must watch this episode so you can learn what you must do before you retire. See what I did there? On today's episode of Elder Needs Law, Jason interviews the creator of Emergency Info Plan, John Pastore. Let's take a quick look.
Today, I'm thrilled to have John Pastore with us. He is the creator of Emergency Info Plan. He's at emergencyinfoplan.com. And John is on a mission to save your life or save the life of your loved one.
John shares an incredibly personal and moving story that inspired him to create a way of using the safety features that already exist in our phones to save lives. Of course, he breaks it down beautifully on the episode, but here's Kristen's Cliff's Notes version. He explains how our phones can connect a 911 call with emergency contacts like family members or friends who you would want to be alerted if something were to happen to you, but you might not have the ability to make those calls. You can also add your medical history, conditions, medications, so that if you need immediate medical assistance, they will automatically have all of your information when they get to you. He created a sticker that you can keep on your phone, which shows emergency responders how to access that information. There's so much more, so be sure to tune in. But I honestly believe everyone needs to set this up in their phones now. I actually forwarded this episode to my parents immediately after watching it because I felt it was too important to wait till it aired. Today on ETF Stories, we get to see how Crane Shares looks at the carbon markets for investment opportunities. Let's take a look.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Resilient Advisor Show. My name is Jay Coulter, and joining me for this episode is Luke Oliver of Crane Shares, and we're going to talk about the carbon markets.
We put out more carbon dioxide than we ourselves and the planet can actually use. Cutting down on those emissions is essential in the fight against global warming. On this show, you are going to learn about carbon emissions and how you can invest in ways that will wean companies off of their usage by raising the cost. It is, of course, a lot more complicated than that, but to people who are seeking alternative investments to just your normal stocks and bonds, this is a great episode for you. And for those of you who are worried about the future of this planet, which should be everyone, but may not be far enough along on your financial journey to be thinking about investing, this is a great opportunity to learn about what generates these mass carbon emissions and how investments can actually combat them. So, a related topic to that episode is this article that I read in the Wall Street Journal titled, "Can You Reduce Climate Change with a Credit Card? What to Know About Buying Carbon Offsets." All right, carbon offsets are credits purchased from projects that are designed to reduce emissions of planet-warming greenhouse gases. If you are feeling guilty for having a big gas-guzzling car and you want to help pull back on carbon in other areas, buying carbon offsets is an option for you. Say you're flying across the country for a vacation, you could buy from a provider that sources emission-reducing offsets, which could compensate for your flight. This means a little less environmental guilt when we do indulge ourselves. There are even airlines that are partnering with these companies and will give an estimate of your air travel emissions based on the length of your flight. This will help you calculate your offset purchase. Because the market for offsets isn't regulated, you do need to be careful and do your homework to make sure that you are buying from legitimate projects that truly do help cut back on emissions. Nonprofits are some of the more reputable providers. So all in all, I thought this was an easy and accessible way to be an active participant in the fight against global warming and something you all might want to check out. Thanks again for joining me on Coffee with Kristen. I will see you tomorrow on Tuesday for another episode. And be sure to check us out on Roku and Apple TV.